Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Designated Pundits. I'm Bob, here today with Jose Nunez as we preview the Philadelphia Union for the 2025 Major League Soccer season. We are live here to preview the 2025 Major League Soccer season for the Philadelphia Union. Here today with beat writer Jose Nunez. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for the invite. I really appreciate it. It's always a joy to jump in with you guys. And I don't know, maybe you can agree with me. It's kind of odd how it's already, starting all over again. And it feels like a hamster wheel, all the time, never ending.
Well, if you're the Philadelphia Union, it might feel like a hamster wheel. That's for sure. You're already off on the wrong foot with those blue Evil Empire jerseys hanging on the back of your wall there. But we'll have to get that remedied sometime soon. Let's get into it. I mean, the first thing I'm asking everyone who jumps on the show this year is, what is your favorite soccer memory from 2024?
My favorite soccer memory from 2024 has nothing to do with the Philadelphia Union. I guess maybe it's Philadelphia Union adjacent. I lost my older brother. We were born in Bolivia. I lost my older brother, not this past December, but the previous one. And one of the best memories of 2024 was getting credentials to watch our home nation play at Subaru Park. So it was one of those moments where my brother would have been so incredibly proud to know I was doing that and covering our own country as a sports journalist in a way. So that was probably my favorite moment of 2024.
Oh, thank you for sharing that with us. That's an awesome one. It's great just how the sport kind of brings people together in some of the best times and some of the worst times. It's always there for you. And, that's as a musician, I kind of always, feel the same way. Like, you can have a good day, you can have a bad day, but, music's always there. And in all the frustrations, the good and the bad. So awesome. Good, really good stuff there. Let's now, on another completely different note, we got to talk about the Philadelphia Union for 2024. 9-10-15 record. You guys were 4-5-8 away, 5-5-7. 4-5-8 at home, 5-5-7 away. 62 goals scored, 55 conceded. That gives you a +7 goal differential. Missed the playoffs by 3 points after losing the last 3 matches straight of the 2024 season. I was actually a little surprised to see how the goal differential seemed not to have any effect on the record of this team. 9 wins, 10 draws, 15 losses, but a +7 goal differential. That's something you see on a team that is, 12, 10 and 12, something like that. So what happened? Talk about 2024.
Yeah, 2024 was one of those really odd years where finally I think it caught up to Philadelphia in terms of running the same squad over and over and over again since 2022, when they were almost at the very top of MLS by nearly defeating LAFC. Obviously, Gareth Bale happened in that famous moment where he comes in and scores that header to sort of take it to extra time and to penalties.
Absolutely.
But running that same squad and adding very little, and if anything, 2024 losing pieces like Jose Martinez and Julian Carranza and Damian Lowe, halfway through the season just did not help whatsoever. But I just mentioned some offensive players, but the reality is that the defensive side was just leaking goals left and right. And a lot of it had to do with Andre Blake being injured and missing a lot of games and having to throw an Oliver Semla, who just came from Louisville City, as well as, bringing up a Union 2 player in terms of Andrew Rick and giving him earning a homegrown contract to play from time to time at the MLS level, just maybe not quite ready yet. So probably just a combination of all of those leading to a leaky defense, and also seeing that they can put goals in bunches if they really wanted to. So it was a really, really bizarre season.
Yeah, that's for sure. It did kind of feel that way. There was a 16-game stretch with only 1 win right across the course of the middle of the season. You guys had off to a hot start. I think you started 3-3-0 with no losses in your first 6 matches, or first 7 matches actually, and then it kind of all fell apart in the middle of the summer there. Let's take a look at who the goal contributors were, because you did have some top flight offensive talent there. Daniel Gazdag, 17 goals, 2 assists. Michael Ura with 10 goals, 5 assists. Ty Baribo, 9 goals, 2 assists. Julian Carranza over a short period had 6 goals. Quinn Sullivan, 5 goals, 8 assists. Jack McGlynn with 4 goals, 5 assists. And Kai Wagner with 1 goal, 10 assists coming up the left flank there. So when we see this, we see a lot of things to be positive about heading into 2025, correct?
Correct. And honestly, I would say that Ty Baribo's number needs an asterisk in a way, and for good reason, right? Because he only really stepped in right before Leagues Cup or in the middle of Leagues Cup. That's when he really sort of finally came in and started playing. So in reality, half a season at best. But it's also going to be tough to replace the likes of the Jack McGlynn's and Julian Carranza's, obviously some stellar players with magical moments that they provided to the fans and really at Subaru Park. So I'm intrigued to see how 2025 goes.
Absolutely. Let's take a little look at the ingoing and outgoing players. This is going to kind of give us a little clue as to the roster build for 2025. You have outgoing Jack Elliott, Leon Flock, Joaquin Torres, Jack McGlynn, and Sam Idinarin, which kind of struck me to the core there because he was this strange player that I kind of made this like zombie card for FIFA out of. I think he's left-footed. He's like 6 foot something. He's big dude. And they have like those really strange, like take a bronze card and promo him up to a gold. And I kind of did that and made this monster. And not even in Major League Soccer anymore. I think he's
he's out in Austria.
Good luck to him there, but he's still kicking in goals in the FIFA with his 92 rating. Incoming, Ian Glevanovic, Neil Pierre, Frankie Westfield, and Jovan Lukic. Which of these are the biggest signings that we're looking forward to here?
Depends what you're looking for, right? If you're looking for immediate impact players, you can take a look at Ian Glevinovic or Jan Glevinovic, I think is what he refers himself to, or players call him on the team. And Jovan Lukic, who Jovan's going to be an unbelievable energy ball type of person who is just going to smother plays and put out fires throughout the field, much like Leon Flock did in 2022 for that really, really good Philadelphia Union squad. Glevinovic is honestly an Argentine Sergio Ramos in a way. Very agile, very quick to the ball, can distribute, not scared to get into a tackle, but unfortunately can get drawn out a position a little bit. But if you're looking for, who's going to be the next star, you probably could put a lot of money on, and you're a betting man, you could probably put a lot of money on Neil Pierre. He is a blue chip prospect, 6'7", I think, as a 17-year-old, already playing with just about every single squad of the U.S. national team. And I honestly would not put it past him. Gosh, I don't think he plays with Philadelphia beyond 2026, 2027. I think someone will come in and swoop him up.
Awesome. Like to hear that a lot. So let's see where this puts us as far as roster build. You have Andre Blake and Oliver Sammy in the goalkeeping spot here. Let's talk about what they bring to the club.
Yeah, Andre Blake is Andre Blake. He is one of the few keepers who ever, or if not the only one, to be keeper of the year or reigning keeper of the year at one point or another. Can't recall what the record is there. But Andre Blake does Andre Blake things. He keeps this team and probably can account for nearly 10 points on a regular season and what he keeps out of the net. So if he can stay healthy and that right leg or left leg, I forget which one it is, can stay intact, this team always has a chance to win.
Then moving up to the center backs, Ian Glevanovic, he's new, but you have Jacob Glesnes, Neil Pierre, I guess we're going to throw on there somewhere. I just typed him into my little spreadsheet that I have going on here, because while we're doing this, I'm doing this for great content for our viewers. I'm also doing this for research of my own. So I am, crossing my T's and dotting my I's here on my own spreadsheet. This is obviously the best pair.
Probably. As of right now, I'm intrigued to see how the season progresses and maybe how Glesnes maybe regresses a little bit. Some of his play in preseason has not been stellar. If anything, it's been a little bit shocking. But you can't say the same about old Ventimiglia, who finally starting to show some promise, and maybe what was needed for him to get a chance is Jim Curtin to be gone. So finally, the U22 player may get a chance to start. But my understanding is that Jan Glavinovic is one of those players that is being brought in to make an impact right away and contribute in significant ways. So that center back pairing is going to be intriguing to see depending on the competition.
That's going to be very important because this team scored a lot of goals last year. You were, I think, top 3 in the East. It was the goals against where you needed to improve a little bit there. And, besides just being more taking advantage, scoring in the right times and not, blowing out an opponent 8-0 and then waiting for nothing, for 3 weeks after that. I forget what you would even call that, like stacking the using your goals.
Yeah, using them up, not saving them.
On the outside, I have Harriel and Mbaizo out right, Kai Wagner on the left side. Not only are we going to talk about the fullback depth chart, but also what they are required to do on this team. Kind of a narrow formation that they run here in Philadelphia, right?
Yeah, no, and then I think you nailed it here with Kai and Nate Harriel being the mainstays. And there's not much to add other than, Kai's Kai. He's a guy who gets you, I think, nearly double-digit assists every single year, if not beyond that. And Nathan is just always the threat. He's got an incredible ability to leap, and every single header, every single cross, he has the opportunity to make it. I do want to highlight Frankie Westfield. He is someone who just signed, or I should say his homegrown deal was signed. It turned on January 1 into a homegrown, or rather it was a Union 2 to a homegrown January 1. But he is very versatile. He can play either side and has played both sides. In fact, I think he was playing right side the majority of preseason, despite being typically a left back. Right back, typically a left back, that type of thing. So he's going to be somebody to keep an eye on. I think just a few weeks away from actually reporting to Penn State to play soccer there, and decided to turn it down. And next thing you know, a year later or less than a year, he's got a professional deal. So quite the story.
Yeah, well, one thing I like about him is that it seemed like everyone in Philadelphia land was high on him. I threw out the depth chart originally with Isaiah LaFleur there, and Twitter took care of that real fast and said, no, you got to look at this kid, Frankie Westfield. However, you would assume on this roster, he would have more chances to start outright.
Probably. I'm not sure where Mbaizo stands in this entire thing. He's a player who had the right side on lockdown, and then Nate Harriel popped out of nowhere and obviously became a homegrown, and all the rest is history. Just sort of took the opportunity away from Mbaizo, and he's been running away with it. So it'll be intriguing to see what the pecking order is.
The number 6 I have here is Danley Jean-Jacques, and behind him, Jesus Bueno. Is that how you see that? And what kind of number 6 is he? Is he a big guy, someone who's going to put a stud through your leg?
He's a ball winner. That's what he is. He just smothers ground like it's no one's business. There's a clip. Actually, it was the game that I think I saw you at the Red Bull game, where there's a couple of clips where he's just eating up ground. Like it's unbelievable how effortless he makes it. Though
sure.
With Jovan coming in, I think it'll be a double 6 pivot. So allowing Danley to push up while Jovan kind of hangs back, and letting Danley distribute a little bit, not playing a 10, but just being someone who can get the ball right away and move it, while Jovan is sort of a stop for the gap.
All right. So I have kind of a 4-1-2-1-2. You kind of see it more of like a 4-2-2-2 kind of thing going on?
Correct.
All right. So I'll just kind of shift the graphic over there.
Yeah,
rotate, a half turn to the left. Jovan Lukic, what does he have? Behind him I have Raffanello and Nick Pariano. CJ Olney is on the roster somewhere down there. But Lukic, we assume, was brought in, and he's going to be brought into play.
Yeah, no, I think Jovan is one that is an actual transfer. I should have clarified. Jan Lavinovich is a loan with a purchase option. Jovan is an outright purchase out of Serbia. He is going to be very talented and do very well. He played 40 minutes against was it Cincinnati? Yeah, it was it Cincinnati? Yeah, it was Cincinnati and played very very well considering he had only really been around his teammates for 48 hours. Connected some very good passes, smothered some attacks to let the defense get back. So I'm really excited to see if he can be a Leon Flock, but a hell of a lot more agile.
Like to see that. Moving up, I guess, to the next level, we have a couple of midfielders, and this is where it gets a little, silly. You got Daniel Gazdag as the number 10. He's like, pure at that position as can be. And then behind him, you got two guys with the last name Sullivan. You got Ale Bedoya, who was brought in a little surprising for me. I don't think he's got much left in the gas tank, and I know people like to call the professional card. Oh, he's like an inspiration in the locker room, this and that. I'm more interested in what they put on the field, to be honest. So, that's something we're going to kind of monitor too. But Gazdag has the 10, and then next to him, another number 10, or more of your like typical 8.
Probably a typical 8, right? Where you would have Daniel being a 10 and then Quinn just running up and down or just shifting around. I think it's going to be very fluid, right? In terms of in possession, without possession type of formations. But yeah, Daniel is going to be and try to be, I should say, the number 10 and try to make things happen. The one Sullivan to mention, and the league would be very upset with anybody to not mention his name, is that of Kevin Sullivan, who obviously at 15 is doing fairly well. I cut a clip 2.5 minutes long of all of his touches this past game against Cincinnati. Granted, it was later in the 120-minute match where he finally came in, but looks really good for a 15-year-old playing against some grown men, and as well as whether they're Cincinnati proper or Cincinnati 2. He looked very, very good. So it'll be intriguing to see how much time the Manchester City bound player gets this season.
Yeah, just exactly what I was doing when I was 15 years old, playing professional soccer. We should pull up a picture of that. Oof. But yeah, no, they look, past the eye test, and, brothers coming through the academy. Fantastic. Can't say enough about that. There is one midfielder we haven't really talked about yet. That's Jeremy Raffanello, someone who I actually have on my striker depth chart. Tell me about what he brings to the squad. That's really an interesting player that I overlooked until today when everyone wanted to talk about him on X.
Interesting. Yeah, no, Raffanello is an interesting character. Super nice guy. Nothing against him, but he gets tossed into whatever situation they can plug him in, almost like a Swiss Army knife, where last year when there were I think like 9 or 8 international call-ups. He played as a midfielder. He's played striker as well in the past, and just this most recent scrimmage against FC Cincinnati, he was a center back for the last 45, 50 minutes. So seems to be sort of a utility tool type of thing for this squad. How much time he's going to get, I'm not sure. He did just sign a new contract last year, I believe, extending to, I forget how many years, but he's going to be in this roster, or is supposed to be in this roster for a few years. Whether he gets the time or not, who knows? Everything's up in the air considering Jim Curtin's gone.
All right. And then up to the top, striker position, Carranza out, Ty Baribo in. And Baribo, I think, was scoring at a higher goal per minute clip last year. I have Michael Ura joining him up top, Chris Gonovan, Eddie Davis, somewhere down the depth chart there too. Who's going to score more goals this year?
I think Tyberi was going to tear it up. The run he was on last year on half a season was unbelievable. It took 2 really silly red cards in Leagues Cup to cool him down. I don't know if you recall him getting the 2 yellows inside the box on a corner kick, just randomly, and being sent off was such a stupid thing that once it happened, it's like, all right, well, I guess he's cooling off for a little bit, but he came right back at it once he got back. So I think a full season of Tyberi will be really interesting, and he frankly should feel somewhat like a new signing if you think about it, considering how long sometimes players take to adjust to MLS once they come in the summer.
So 0.61 goals per 90 for Daniel Gazdag, 0.57 to Ty Baribo, and that is something any team in Major League Soccer would love to add services to their bench. That's still an amazing clip. For clarity, Julian Carranza was scoring about a goal every 180 minutes, so he was at exactly 0.5. So, yeah, he is the outgoing striker, and Baribo did 0.07 goals per 90 higher, and over the course of the season, that you swing the decimal point over, you do the math in your head, that's going to be a couple goals of improvement, which is not something you usually see when you see a player of that caliber sent traded away.
Yeah, no, and Carranza's coachless now at Feyenoord, so we'll see what his future looks like. They just sacked that manager, so it'll be really, really intriguing.
Could be. Here are some storylines that I wanted to follow through 2025. I pose them as questions, but they're not necessarily even answerable. And first is, where can the team look to upgrade? We took a look at the depth chart, and although Philadelphia was bad last year, there aren't a whole ton of blazing wide holes that you can find. I mean, it was just the defense giving inopportune goals at inopportune times. What do you think they're going to be looking to do throughout the season? I believe they have two designated players, Ura and Gazdag?
Correct, yes. I think that they're going to spend some, and I think there might be something brewing in terms of the striker position. And Ernst Tanner was not shy about it during his end-of-season press conference, mentioned that they were going to improve at every segment of the field, except goalkeeper, because of Andre Blake being Andre Blake. Yeah. But you check off Jan Glavinovic as a defender, Jovan Lukic as the midfielder, and there's a striker or someone up top that's yet to come. So I'm going to go ahead and guess that before the window ends, someone from who knows where will join. And I think it'll be an Ernst Tanner special where it's a player who comes from some very random league somewhere in Europe will come in for a very low fee and try to strike it rich.
The ex-coach of St. Louis City and Red Bull interim coach, Bradley Carnell, is now going to be in charge of the squad, something I actually like quite a bit. High pressing system, we know that. He was a 4-2-2-2-2-2 guy when he was with Red Bull, certainly. And St. Louis kind of employed something similar. We know it needs to get better. The defense needs to get better. And Carnell's downfall, I think, when he was interim coach was the Red Bulls weren't scoring goals, but keeping them out was never an issue. So I do like that. And I think that the defense just takes a step just because they have someone of Carnell's expertise on the team. Do they improve under Bradley Carnell? I mean, I'm going to go with yes.
I would think so. Jim, an incredible person, was always extremely kind to me, polite, willing to connect, chat, etc. But maybe it was time for the change, and obviously the change happened. Whether it was his choice or not, that's a different conversation altogether. But with Bradley, I think utilizing all of these young lengths won't be a problem. Whereas with Jim, he ran Glesnes to the ground, ran Kai Wagner to the ground, ran some of these players into an unbelievable amount of minutes under their legs. And once you got to playoffs or matches where it mattered, they would just be tired, right? They would be done. So maybe Bradley brings in a fresh start and gives fresh starts to a lot of these players that are trying and have been trying for multiple years, but they were just not Jim's guys. So I think they will improve. I think this team's sneaky good, and maybe it'll take the what's it called? The energy drink ball that Carnell can bring to this club.
Yeah, and that kind of ties into the next question. Carnell is a play your kids guy. He does not care if you are 12 years old, if you can kick a soccer ball and play the system he wants, he will put you out there. And that leaves me to Ali Bedoya, an old veteran, the guy. If anyone's going to have a statue outside the stadium, it's going to be him. I remember him a long time. I remember him even playing DC, picking up the mic and yelling a political message into it. Do you remember that from End Gun Violence, something like that? What does he have left? Because if I see what I see under a Carnell system, it's not looking like he's going to get a whole lot of minutes this year.
Yeah, I was truly shocked when that came through, and then talking with people at the club, some of them were even shocked. They didn't know it was happening. So when Bedoya was brought back in, it was certainly a surprise. And I'm intrigued because if the idea is to have this high press, high energy system, why is Bedoya staying, but Jack McGlynn going, right? And in
Yeah.
terms of like what they can bring to the table, obviously there are intangibles that Alejandro Bedoya brings in terms of being a club favorite, club captain, club legend, etc. Can mentor kids and players, I should say, and that's all good and great. But are the metrics there? I'm not sure. I know he was very clear last year to us in the press and talking with him. Actually, exact same game where we saw you in New York at the Red Bulls Arena, now Sports Illustrated Arena, right? Yeah.
Sure. It's
Yeah.
Red Bull Arena.
Got it.
We're still calling MetLife Giant Stadium. So if that gives you any, the thick-headed New Jerseyans here.
Gotcha. The stubbornness. No, Bedoya was very clear. Listen, the metrics that me and my team have put together continue to illustrate that I'm contributing, and at a high level, I'm going to continue to play. It's like, okay, man, do it. No one's telling you to retire. You do whatever you want to do, whether it's in Philadelphia, somewhere else, completely up to you. So I don't know what he has left. I think I'd be shocked if he breaks over 1,500 minutes. Maybe.
Yeah, to me, it looked like a tough decision. I think Ernst Tanner still in charge of operations. It just kind of seemed like you have to know when it's time. Red Bull did it with Dax McCarty. It was very hard. They did it with Sean Davis. Mm-hmm. It was hard. They did it with 4 captains in a row leaving the squad. And that it's hard. It is hard. And aging is tough, like we're talking about these guys like they're ancient. I think I'm probably a year younger than Bedoya. It is tough. It is tough. It's tough to see. Our eyes are going to let us know, right? That's what ultimately what's going to be the decision. And my last one here, this team looks good on paper. Can they put it together?
I agree with you. I think on paper they look better than what people give them credit for, especially if you talk to the fans and even some press members who, before players even get on the field, are already being discounted to not, potentially amount to anything. I think this is going to be a sneaky good team. Are they going to be top of the East? Absolutely not. Are they going to be basement dwellers of the East? No, because that's where Toronto and DC United belong with the rosters that they've put together. I think with how easy it should be to make the playoffs. Obviously, they didn't last year. I think that they do this year, that they find their way into the playoffs, even with this roster. What I'm intrigued about is what young guys that we spoke about get their shot this year and sort of take the opportunity and run away with it. Is that a Neil Pierre? Is that a Frankie Westfield if there's an injury or a departure, right? Maybe an offer, the right offer comes for Nate Harriel. Does Westfield grab that spot and not let it go? Maybe. And really excited to see if there is, and there should be, someone coming in at the striker position, how that person pushes Baribo and Ua to just be that much better, especially when we talk about the numbers that Baribo was putting up last year.
Philly's had a lot of movement outgoing. If you had to pick a couple players that might have a chance of getting sold this year, is it Baribo? Is that his next destination?
I would think Baribo, because everybody wants a player that can put the ball in the back of the net. And frankly, for someone that was in the doghouse for nearly a year or a year and change or whatever it was, to be in this run and be offered, for a team to come and offer whatever his fee was and then some, Ernst Tanner won't blink an eye. No one's untouchable anymore, as we saw with Jack McGlynn. I think he was one of those few last ones that I would have imagined it's Europe or nothing. But with this new cash for trade or cash for player system, whatever you want to call it, anybody's available, especially within the league, especially if there are a contending team that just needs someone to put the ball in the back of the net. And maybe Philadelphia's not doing too hot and maybe not looking like they're a team that's going to really compete. Maybe Ernst Tanner says, yeah, thank you, Ty. We appreciate it, but we'll take the money.
Let's get into our predictions for 2025. And the first 3 are tied together. What is a realistic season outcome? What's the team's best possible outcome? And what's the team's worst possible outcome? We've interviewed some pretty bad squads. We've done some previews that are Shocking, to be honest. Seeing what some of these teams think. Montreal, what they are going to put on the field, they think that's appropriate. I don't even know. So I think that Philadelphia has at least a ground floor of like 12th. Like that is, you probably can't get any worse than that. I don't think they can do better than 4 either, but this is one of the teams where the possible outcomes is immense. I mean, this could be a home field advantage through a couple playoff games team. This could be, I mean, what we just saw, 9 wins out of 34 matches.
Yeah, I think realistically, this is a team that probably finishes ninth. I'm sorry, realistically finishes 10th or ninth. Best possible outcome for them is maybe sneaking into that 7 or 6, depending on what other clubs are doing and players incoming and outgoing. More importantly, outgoing as the playoff picture sort of settles in. But I think what's really going to help Philadelphia this year is that they're not going to be stretched as thin as they have in the past because they're not in the Champions Cup. They're not in Leagues Cup. They're only playing US Open and MLS. So that should help them focus.
That alone could be 6 points over an opponent.
No, absolutely. I'm intrigued to see how that helps, especially with such a young team. Though you could argue, could they use more game time or more practice time? Those two are unbelievably different in what you get out of them. So I'll be really interested to see how they deal with it and what they get out of it. And I think the one storyline to follow this season is how does Bradley Cornell impact this team immediately? And if there's not a playoff appearance, what does that mean for him? I know he's going to have somewhat of a leash. Ernst Tanner said as much, but with how much this roster has changed, and it's not nearly as much of a change as, New England, for example,
Sure.
the patience is very short and it's not very, Philadelphia wants to be in the playoffs. If anything, the expectation over the years, it's been so high because of Jim Curtin, what he did with those rosters, especially in 2022. But yeah, it's an intriguing season and I'm just here for it.
It's going to be very interesting to me because I think that this team, if you replayed the 2024 season 100 times, how many times does Philadelphia end up in 12th place?
Gosh, I feel like it's the
5.
It's probably like the Avengers movie scene with Doctor Strange, right? Or it's like maybe once, right? Or like twice. It's so unbelievable that it unfolded the way it did between international call-ups and injuries and just a slew of other things, travel, being stretched thin by so many competitions. I'd be hard pressed to say that they could replicate such a poor record.
In only one of your, I mean, this is the shocking, I'm counting right now. Only one win from the Union, a 2-1 win over Nashville, was by 1 goal. Every other win was 2 or 3 or 4 goal wins. I mean, it's happening at times that doesn't make sense. So that alone on the reroll, I'm thinking I don't think that this is a 12th place team in 2024. So I don't think it's a 12th place team next year either, with an improved head coach, a more solid striking position, and not having all the distractions that other teams are having. So I'm actually higher on you. I think the range of outcomes is wider than you think. I think that there are a lot more things that can go right and wrong, and I think that this could be a fourth or fifth place. I don't predict that, but I think that's certainly within the realm of possibilities.
Yeah, but and I think you're right. I just also worry about what other clubs have done to improve themselves. Is this Philadelphia club as it is now better than what Charlotte is this year? I don't think so. Is this Philadelphia club better than what even the Red Bulls are this year? I don't think so. So it'll be really intriguing to see who they climb up. Because I mean, even think about Atlanta. Is Atlanta better than last year? Absolutely. They were a ninth place team last year. Are they a ninth place team this year?
No,
I don't believe so.
Significantly better.
No way.
I do take that point, but then in the Eastern Conference, there's always teams that just can't get out of their own way, and there's going to be injuries. There's going to be, surprising sales like the Columbus Crew, who let every attacker on their team walk, and you're going to see, we don't know what's up with Cincinnati yet. Losing a major number 10 could change the whole outlook of your season, so there's so many storylines left to follow, but we're going to cover right here on the Designated Pundits. Jose, thank you so much for being our guest today. Let us know one more time where we can find your work.
Yeah, you can find me on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Jose R. Nunez 91, I believe is what my handle is. And within it, you can find my Substack. Excited to share later this year. I'll be writing for the league's website periodically, just a couple of features here and there. So thank you. Appreciate you.
Awesome. Thank you. And make sure if you are watching this for the first time, you hit that subscribe button, get notified when we go live. All 30 Major League Soccer teams, we have about 9 left. We are definitely in the home stretch here, going in order of roster preparedness. So we're waiting, if that's why Philly took so long. I think we booked this a couple of weeks ago, this sit down. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for checking in at home. Make sure you go to youtube.com, thedesignatedpundits.com, find all the links there, or just search The Designated Pundits on your favorite podcast app. Thank you guys, and have a wonderful evening.